10 things Android does better than iPhone, coming up right now. Let's go. So what is up guys, Nick here helping you to master your technology, and welcome to the follow-up video to 10 things that iPhone does better than Android. This one we're taking a look at 10 things that Android does better than iPhone, and the first one on my list is going to be that Android simply has more applications than iPhone. Now some people can argue that iPhone has more polished applications, quote unquote, according to your perspective, but Android does have more applications, and that's just a fact. So if you want a phone that has more applications, Android definitely does this better than the iPhone. The second one, and pretty much an obvious one here, is that Android is more customizable than the iPhone. So basically, even today, it gets even more customizable because now you no longer have to root your Android device to get themes, such as on the Galaxy S8 Plus. If you go into the theme store, Samsung has a built-in theme store on their phone, and many other smartphones do this as well. Now, for the OnePlus 3T, for example, or the OnePlus 5 that was just announced, stock Android phones do require a little bit of know-how to make them more customized, whereas these TouchWiz-based phones are LG-based phones with LG Smart World, or some other Chinese-based phones also have theme stores built in to their smartphones, such as Xiaomi. So definitely this is a huge advantage to Android, is customization, and one of the longest standing arguments of all time, and it still does this better than iPhone. Now iPhone has improved in that it now has widgets, and you could change the wallpaper. It used to be only a black wallpaper, and you could do a couple of things in here. You can jailbreak an iPhone, but that's a little bit more complex. I'm talking about everyday users. The iPhone is definitely not as customizable as Android, and Android is better because of that reason. Still here in 2017. Another thing that Android does better than iPhone is that there's pretty much an option for everyone. So whether you're looking for a premium mid-range phone such as the OnePlus 3T or the OnePlus 5 that was just announced, a flagship phone such as the Galaxy S8, S8 Plus, or you're even looking for a cheaper phone such as the Galaxy J7, there's phone options for everyone all the way down to under $50. I've seen phones for $25. There's even a phone I think that's $5. Let me know if you guys want to see that one on the channel. But definitely more options for more people's price points and ranges for Android, making Android better than iPhone in that particular way. So that's another thing that Android does better than iPhone. Another thing that Android does better than iPhone is the integration with Google services. So anything that's Google related here on the Android phone just works better. And one of the biggest one I think works better is things like Google Drive, Google Maps, stuff like that just works better on the Android side of thing. Now, I know that iPhone does give you the best of both worlds with Apple services as well as Google applications, but I don't think the applications for Google or iPhone are as good as they are for Android. I think the integration is just a little bit better on the Android side of things. So for those of you looking for the best Google integration with the world's largest search engine and Google Assistant, it just works better on Android. So that's definitely a thing that Android does better than iPhone, because let's face it, who's searching on Bing? Everybody's searching on Google, and that's a huge factor there for deciding for an Android device. Another thing that Android does better than iPhone is going to be micro SD card expansion. So the Galaxy S8 Plus here does have micro SD card expansion up to 256 gigabytes. So you can definitely add some more storage here into the Galaxy S8 Plus, and many other Android phones support that feature as well. The OnePlus 3T is another example of something iPhone doesn't do that's better on the Android side of things, and that is dual SIM support. So you can put two SIM cards in here. There's no iPhone that you can put dual SIM cards in. So definitely those are two things that Android definitely does better than the iPhone here in 2017. So another thing that Android does better than iPhone is the USB-C port. So Apple has had for the longest time their Lightning connector, which is definitely proprietary and doesn't work on the Android side of things. And I think this becomes a little bit of a hassle if you can't find a Lightning port. And you know, these are a little bit more universal USB-Cs, and many laptops are adopting this. Even the MacBook itself is adopting this, and to see iPhone still not put USB-C in their devices is kind of a, a shady move, I think, from Apple. They could put USB-C in their devices. It's pretty much a universal, going to be a global standard going forward. So definitely, I think that is a leg up for Android, USB-C, the transfer speeds and things like that. Now, don't get me wrong, the iPhone does have some extremely fast NAND storage built right in to the device, and that Lightning cable is not slow whatsoever. It can support up to USB 3 speeds, but I just think having USB USB-C 3.1 going forward is definitely the future of I/O. So that is a huge thing that Android does better in my opinion. So another thing that Android does better than the iPhone is it has real multitasking. So you can see you can actually split applications here right on the phone and do two things at once. Not just the whole multitasking like where you have one application open. Let's close this out and bring this down. Not like just where you have one application open, you could just scroll through things. Every phone can do that, but we're talking about full split screen multitasking. Android definitely does this better than iPhone, and that feature is actually very useful. And sometimes if you use an Android phone and you bounce back to an iPhone, you're gonna try to multitask and you're gonna remember, oh yeah, my iPhone doesn't do split screen multitasking. So definitely a win there for Android Nougat devices and some Samsung devices as well as LG devices that split the screen. Another win for the Android side of things is the freedom of NFC. So the NFC built into these Android devices do not limit you to Apple Pay and stuff like that. Like on Apple, they only limit you to Apple Pay. You can use this for all kinds of things on the NFC, for bumping the phones, for using accessories and stuff like that. The NFC is just much more freedom, much more open here on the Android side of things. So that is a huge, barrier, I think, on iPhone. If you're into the whole NFC, near field communication technologies, you get much better of that in the Android side of things. So that is a better thing on the Android side as well in 2017. Another thing that Android does better than iPhone in 2017 is widget support. So definitely much better widget support here for the Android side of things in 2017. And, it's this, the widgets here are complemented pretty well on the iPhone. You just swipe over to the left, but not as many apps support them as on Android, and they're not as customizable, and they're not as useful, I think, on iPhone as they are on Android. You can literally resize them, put them wherever you want on the Android device, and that can become very productivity oriented and very, very useful in comparison to just having to always swipe over to the left. Don't get me wrong, that's a decent feature on the iPhone, but definitely not as customizable and useful as on Android. So widgets are better on Android. That's another thing that Android does better than iPhone. And my last reason why Android is still better than iPhone is fast charging. Now, this might change come with the iPhone, 8 this year, but for now, the Android does fast charging, whereas the iPhone doesn't. So yeah, fast charging, extremely fast, especially the OnePlus 3T and the 5. They have dash charging, which is extremely fast. I mean, you could top this thing up in about 40 minutes. It's extremely fast charging, whereas you're going to be waiting a while for your iPhone 7 Plus or 6S Plus or SE to be charging. They take a while to charge, sometimes excruciatingly slow. But those are pretty much my reasons why Android is better than iPhone. Now, there's plenty more that could be said. Comment your thoughts down below. What reasons you think Android is better than iPhone? If you want to see the counter to this video, I already created it a couple days ago. I will leave the link down below in the description area as well as in a card up above. But yeah, check that out. Hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. These were the reasons why Android is better than iPhone. Nick here helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this, and peace.